Okay.
We'll keep it simple, keep it casual today. Won't be anything too crazy.
All right. So, hi everybody. So just, so we can introduce ourselves because I know we have a lot of new to us faces, I should say. We are Adam and Amanda New. We were just discussing, we live in Mechanicsville, so not too far away from here. And we have been on this journey of real estate for just at 5 years next month, actually. Well, quitting our jobs 5 years next month.
We say,
Yeah. So by background, we used to work in corporate banking, used to sell credit card processing to business owners, and then we led teams of people. I eventually had like the Mid-Atlantic. You had the state of Virginia. It just was, we were going everywhere and doing all these things, and it was crazy. So very unceremoniously, March 12th of 2020, they called you up and said, hey, you got to go.
No longer needed.
Yeah, no longer needed. Thanks.
You don't
for
need
your
an
service.
outside sales team if there aren't any restaurants and retail open. So that was the start of 2 weeks to flatten the curve that lasted 540 days.
Yeah. So so he got very unceremoniously just kind of kicked to the curb. And at that point, we realized we had always talked about doing real estate, always talked about doing these things, but now we realized, oh, we actually have to do something. So you got another job like 30 days later, so it ended up being fine. But in that gap, you went down a YouTube rabbit hole, basically, of trying to figure out, okay, what do we really want to accomplish? And ended up linking up with some people we saw on YouTube out of Mississippi. They taught us everything that they knew, and they were kind of doing the same type of business we wanted to have, the same style of business, the same structures, that sort of thing. And so they taught us everything that they could teach us. And we stood up a business, wholesaling at the time, all throughout summer of 2020. Perfect time to start a business, peak COVID, just as you walk people's houses, perfect time to do it. But we were like, yeah, this seems fine. So flash forward, September of 2020, we had 2 properties under contract. They had not closed yet. And we said, that seems...
Yeah, we should quit our jobs.
Yeah, that seems like enough.
No, everything always closes.
Yeah, like just...
ABC.
Yeah, it's fine. So I quit my job. 2 weeks later, you quit yours, purely out of naivete. We didn't know any better. So don't do that. If anyone's looking to quit their corporate jobs,
Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
No, do not do what we did. Worked out fine. We'd never lived in a van down by the river. We always were able to pay our mortgage, but we quit our jobs, and we have now been on this journey ever since. So,
wow.
Yeah. So now, 5 years later, we do a little bit of everything. So we still wholesale. We now flip. We do novations. We have a rental portfolio. We have Airbnbs. You name it. At this point, I've done just about anything you can do with a house. So it has been a pretty wild ride.
Yeah.
Which has been good.
It's fun.
So,
Let's get fired.
Yeah, just get fired. It'll be fine. It all works out. You get
Done
fired.
and done.
So topics we're going to cover today. When we look back over our 5 years, one of the things that we have really recognized has been the critical component to our journey, and the part that we start telling everybody about is the concept of acquisition really is the only thing that's going to change your income. And I'm going to defend that position till the day I die. And I'm going to explain why as we go through the presentation. But really the objective is, at its core, if we all can learn the art of acquisition, buying a property at a significant discount, you ultimately, if you master that craft, you are in control of your real estate investing journey. At that point, you can do whatever you want. If you want to be a landlord, awesome. If you want to be an Airbnb mogul, phenomenal. If you want to flip, fantastic. It doesn't matter. Because you have now mastered part 1, the exit strategy is totally up to you. So, you're like, am I going crazy? Okay, so when we think about acquisition, really every time I talk to anybody, especially if they're first getting started in real estate, they're always like, I can't find a deal, I can't find a deal, I can't find a deal. Does this resonate with anybody?
Every day.
Fantastic. Okay. So this is the bottleneck. If you have a phenomenal deal, the private money to get that deal funded is going to come naturally. If you have the right deal, you can burr it flawlessly. Like all the downstream stuff, you might have to do some research, but it all comes back to, is the deal good? And if it's not, your life is just infinitely harder. So we really have to master that part one before the downstream can be any easier. And when I say acquisition, do I need to click a button? Oh no, here we go.
Love that term, by the way, as a logistician here. Love acquisition.
There we go. So, but when we really talk about acquisition, I'm not just talking about the seller appointment. We really have to look at it holistically. We got to look at, is your marketing working? You have to learn what marketing means, how it impacts your results. Lead management, how is your phone call? Is it effective? Is it ineffective? Is it driving proper seller appointments? Is it filtering out the seller appointments you should never go on? Because even that's actually in many cases more important than a good seller appointment. Performance monitoring, are you really closing things correctly? And then we really get to the effective seller appointment strategy. So when we look at our business now, at this point, Adam still to this day is running all of our seller appointments. It's what we know. It's, we have a decade apiece of sales experience. So like that's kind of been the last seat he has stayed in terms of the day-to-day strategy. I have pulled out of all of the day-to-day stuff. I'm now working on that whole front end to make sure it's running effectively. And then project management, the flips that we do. And we do that very intentionally because we need to keep revenue in first position, and he's crazy good at it. So, but yeah.
Are these all separate LLCs or just under one name kind of deal?
It's just the cash offer company.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so he runs all of our appointments. He does all of our acquisition, and then I'm managing the front end in terms of getting him the stuff, that he can sell. But if we really don't master this art, you're always going to be having to work with other wholesalers, looking on the MLS for crap deals. You're always going to be having to scrounge around for these resources rather than being in control. So here's the thing though. Don't make the mistake that we made. So by background, I think, we've alluded to it. We're salespeople. We train sales. We still do, we'll train anybody on a sales strategy if they need it. We've been doing it now for over a decade. However, what happened is we got started really, really fast. Like we had a couple deals under contract. We quickly grew, and then we slammed into that initial first wall and really got stuck there and never really figured out why. And the biggest mistake we really made was we treated the business like salespeople, not like business owners, which is really stupid because we used to tell everyone we worked with in credit card processing, treat it like a business owner, don't treat it like a salesperson. And we just fell into the same trap.
And we found that was a universal thing. I mean, there'd be somebody that'd be great at making tacos, but they had no idea how to work the accounting side of their business. And so they'd be out of business in months.
Right.
And it didn't matter how good the food was.
Right. So for us, what that meant is that our solution, if we ever saw dips, if we ever wanted to grow, we always just said more leads, more leads, more leads. Put me in, coach. I'm going to hunt. I'm going to kill. I'm going to go get it, so on and so forth. And so we just kept throwing more at the situation, throwing more marketing dollars and more marketing dollars at the situation. And we actually weren't seeing really any improved results. So what we didn't do and what we should have done was, is any of this crap actually working? Are we actually effective on an appointment? Are we following up correctly? For how long? All of these things, how much are we spending per lead? How much money does it cost to get a house under contract? All of these things are a part of that acquisition process. And we weren't paying attention to none of it. We said, yeah, we're just crazy good at sales. It's fine. And we had no understanding of what was going on. So we were salespeople. We were professional salespeople. We were not business owners. Why do I tell you this? Well, don't do what we did. Namely, when we started every week tracking and reviewing these KPIs and having discussions, not just doing it, but actually having discussions about, okay, what do you see on that appointment? Why did that work? Why did it not work? What's going on? And analyzing it week in and week out. Our business tripled in 9 months with 30% less marketing. So, yeah.
How did you run the analytics? Like, how do you figure this
It's
out?
funny you should ask that. It's almost like I'm going to tell you how to do it.
I'm sorry.
You're good. So every single week we started tracking it, and we cut that channel that did not serve us. We increased budget in places that it was working really well. And we constantly started adjusting and really fine tuning the marketing so that way he had more effective appointments, which increased his close ratio, which then meant the business grew. Since then, it was just the two of us. Now we have a project manager, we have a lead manager, we have a VA in the Philippines, we have multiple crews that work on a lot of the projects we are currently working on. Disposition has been totally outsourced to a third-party vendor. So the business has grown dramatically because there's no way if a business triples that the two of us can just handle all of that. But we did more with less, which is really, really cool. So what did that mean? I'm going to give you just a little bit of it, because the thing that we were telling Philip we wanted to talk about was marketing. But marketing does no one any good if we aren't actually analyzing how it's going to get you there. And that your budget doesn't matter to me. If you came to me and said, Amanda, I want to start a wholesaling business, I've only got X amount of dollars a month to do it, I would give you a plan around that. If you told me you had $10,000 a month to do it, I'd give you a different plan, but I'd still give you a plan around it. The reporting and the things you need to track don't change regardless of which method you do. You just have to track it. So to start, one of the things we always track is, as all this stuff goes out, what are the phone calls that are coming in? So you can see I put all our lead sources across the top, and then we just say, hey, what came in? What showed up? Did someone put in a lead on our website and never actually did anything with it? You never got a hold of them. You never, they just submitted it and now it's out in the internet sphere. That's like someone who I just said it's connected. We connected with them at some point because they submitted a lead on our website, but we've never actually made contact. Okay. Lead is going to be someone we've made contact. We had a conversation. They sat there and said, yes, I want to sell, but I can't sell right now. For whatever reason. Give me 30 days, give me 6 months, give me a year, whatever. We've made contact, we've had a good conversation, but just not right now. So that's a lead. An appointment means we had a good conversation. Adam has been scheduled to go out there and take a look at the house. Unqualified means that someone has called us and said, take a long walk off a short bridge, go F yourself. You all have heard these things before. That's going to be unqualified, because I need to know, like, for example, if I send out a batch of mail and every phone call that comes in is go away, then that's not effective marketing. Something's wrong with that channel. I need to know, did they call or did they call and tell us to go away? Those are two different problems with needing two different solutions. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. When you look at all of that, then I can tell you how many leads we got versus how many qualified leads we got. So what I mean by that is that number 13 that's everything that showed up. Regardless of what happened, that's everything that showed up. What I would consider qualified are going to probably be the first 3, or really maybe even the middle 2, depending on how you want to structure it. So I would say I got 13 leads this week, but only 9 are qualified. I'd start monitoring, okay, is that good? Is that bad? It depends. It's up to you and your business. Everyone's going to have different ratios with that. And then at that point, I'd start calculating, okay, I spent over the past 30 days $5,000. I got 50 leads over the past 30 days. My cost per lead is $100. Make sense? And you start seeing that go up and down, ebb and flow, so on and so forth. And those are some of the basic things we look for every single week. But when we think about marketing, has anyone been on YouTube and heard a guru sit there and say, like, hey, this XYZ way of marketing is the only way to do marketing and everything else is junk and it's all stupid? Anyone else? None? Okay.
Ramsey.
Yeah, everything. You name it. So we heard that too, and it causes a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion as you look at your business. because you'll have someone who say, this is the only way to do it. And then someone else will say, this other way is the only way to do it. And you're sitting there going, I don't understand how two things can be true. And the answer is neither person's right. And they're all just trying to sell you something. But, go back. So at our core, all marketing works if you work it. I give the perfect example. We have some friends of ours, fellow investors, that are super successful. They love what they're doing and they crush with texting and cold calling. I love that for them. We have never done a text message campaign. We attempted cold calling earlier this year and we got one appointment. Nothing came out of it. What an absolute waste of time for us. But,
love that.
And it's fine. It's because we are not designed for that type of marketing. It does not mean the marketing is ineffective. It just means we're designed differently than the other company that is built around cold calling and texting. That's fine. Pros and cons to every situation. All marketing work if you work it. So if you are first starting out, if you come to us and you sit there and say, Amanda, how do you get started? How we typically do it is we always recommend the goal at all times is what I call blend. I don't know a better way to describe it. To start, what that blend means is 1 outbound, 1 inbound. Okay? 1 outbound means I'm putting in effort to go make contact with sellers, like sweat equity. I am engaging with people. Inbound means I maybe sent something out or I have something out in the world that will bring phone calls to me. I want that blend because the both channels create wildly different results and you need those different results. I always tell somebody, give it 90 days at minimum, ideally 4 to 5 months. So if you sit there and say, Amanda, I have a budget of $1,000, I'm going to ask you, is that $1,000 total or $1,000 for just this month? And you can give me another $1,000 the next month and another $1,000 the month after that. I need to know the budget for the next 90 days. Because if you cut stuff off too early, it won't work. That is a huge thing we see very, very commonly is people will do something for 30 days, go, this doesn't work, this is terrible, like cut it off. And they have cut off their own nose to spite their face, basically. Like you cut it off too soon. Very, very consistently in our own data, we have seen it usually at minimum takes 45 days before you see any sort of results, and then you see the results ramp at 90. So as you start analyzing what you want to add, what you want to subtract out of your marketing component of your business, like make sure that you give yourself time because you're shortchanging yourself. Every channel needs its own phone number. So at this point, gosh, how many phone numbers do we have at this point?
Too many.
Too many. Way too many. Every channel needs its own phone number. That's the easiest way to track this. So that way they're not just all calling your main line and you have no understanding of where the root of where they're calling from came from. So phone numbers matter. And here's the thing, you're going to waste money if you don't track what's working and what's not. And more importantly, you're going to waste money in marketing in general. A friend of ours, Brandon, used to say, 50% of your marketing budget's not going to work. You just don't know which 50% it's going to be. Like, you're going to constantly try stuff. It's going to work. It's going to not work. You just have to be willing to do it because you don't know if that next thing you do is going to be the next best thing that you could do. So you have to be willing to blow a little bit of money. It just is what it is. Okay. So this is going to be over. This is a lot. But what I'm going to do is show you as best I can every single channel and the pros and cons. Like I said, there's no one channel that works or doesn't work. You just have to figure out what makes sense for your business, your budget, and what you're trying to accomplish. But when I think about outbound, here are all the different types of marketing that I put in that bucket. Driving for dollars, texting, cold calling, door knocking, networking with realtors. I'd put social media kind of in that same bucket as networking with realtors. So as you guys look at this, what are some themes you're seeing? I know it's very small. What are some themes you see that are kind of overarching when it comes to outbound?
Timeline.
Yep. What do you, talk to me more about that.
Just days versus months.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer. Generally speaking, it's going to take a little longer. The reason why is outbound is what we call interruption marketing. They are not raising their hand saying, I need to sell my house. You're like, hey, do you want to sell your house? And they're like, I hadn't thought about it. Or, hey, I'm kind of like, you're catching them first. First is good. It means you can develop some really good rapport. But it means that you're going to have to do it for the long term. Like, it's not going to be here, sign some paperwork right now. If it does, great, but that's just not going to be typical.
Yeah, at that point, it's just the law of statistics, right? I think about it like I don't particularly care for people soliciting and knocking on my door. I just don't like being interrupted. But like the next guy that knocks on my door and says I'm a pest control company, I'm going to be like, let's talk. Because I just happen to be in the market for one today, right? I'll probably call somebody that my neighbor used tomorrow and get it knocked out. But like, I'm like, I don't like this ant situation in the backyard. We should get it handled. If at that moment someone were to knock on my door and say, I'm an ant control specialist, I'd be like, you're making a sale, buddy. You're making a sale. But yeah, but like if you're the window guy, if you're the lawn care guy, whatever, I'm like, get off my porch, man. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. So outbound is a more shotgun style approach. Like, let me just spray and see what happens. What is another thing that you guys would think would be a theme when it comes to outbound?
Cost is low.
Yes. Generally speaking, outbound marketing is going to be much cheaper because you're just going through huge chunks of data, or you're putting in your sweat equity to really drive the results. So this is why, as a brand new investor, this is a really good place to start. But the challenge is that most new investors don't realize that they are exchanging the sweat equity, the freeness, with the timeline, the speed. So they burn out 60 days in, not realizing it's going to take 90 days for it to work. Or they think it's going to be done in 90 days and it really takes 4 months to work. So they don't realize that they've kind of shot themselves in the foot trying to be cheap, and then they don't get the results they need. Now, once you get it rolling, you're golden. But like a ton of new investors don't recognize this length of time this actually is going to take. We saw this even with our own project manager. Our prior project manager wanted to start out and go do their own thing. Phenomenal. They started with driving for dollars. It took them 90 days to finally track one down. So but because they had heard us talk about this for so long, they were not sitting there going, oh my gosh, why is it not working? They knew it was okay.
But that was a $40,000 profit.
Right.
Is this like a targeted list of homes that you're driving by, or is it just like you pick a neighborhood and...
So typically what we recommend is we tell somebody, go into like a C-class neighborhood, a more working class neighborhood, and then you're looking for properties that you see clear signs of deferred maintenance. A tarp on the roof, super overgrown grass, trash in the yard. You look for stuff that broken windows, busted up doors, and then that's where you start targeting. You're not really going to be like taking pictures of every single one. But you're kind of going in those types of neighborhoods. Most new investors don't realize that's what they have to do, and they either go into too nice of a neighborhood because that's where they would prefer to be, and then they're like in Wyndham, like, I wonder if someone will sell me their house, and it's like, nah, brah. Or they go the opposite direction and they go into war zone Petersburg, where it all looks like that, and they don't care. Every address, and then they don't realize what they've walked themselves into.
I've just suggested start in your own neighborhood and then just keep making a bigger and bigger circle around you. So just keep driving through, because you know your neighborhood. I mean, like I said, your zip code, right? You know your zip code, but you don't really know your zip code. You know what the main streets are, maybe in some of the secondary streets, but you haven't been in every cul-de-sac. You've not turned around in every driveway. And it's surprising, because I think the average price point in our neighborhood is like $550 to $600. And then but 2 streets over, it was a target-rich environment. And it would what was it there were 4 houses sold in our neighborhood that were basically hoarder houses.
Yeah.
And so they are obviously not selling at that price point, but had the right person approach them. And they were like, we had one that was 3 houses down from us. They just didn't know that's what we did for a living.
Yeah. But great. Love that for me. That's usually what I recommend when it comes to driving for dollars. But I think Outbound is a phenomenal resource. It still plays people, everyone needs to play in. Everyone needs to have at least one, if not 2 channels in this space. You just have to recognize what's going to happen when you're in here. No, and I will say this exact same statement when we switch to inbound. You just have to know what you're getting your hands on, because people just miss it and then they think they're the problem, and they don't realize the channel is actually doing what it's supposed to do. They just don't know any better.
And I would prefer, if someone was getting started, that they start with driving for dollars, because because you're having more conversations in person, which is good prep for eventually what will end up being a seller conversation. Mm-hmm. So you're starting off, okay, I'm not interested today, but I might be interested tomorrow, or get the heck off my yard, something like that. Texting, I find that like it's recently become more difficult to set up. There's a lot of like federal stuff that you got to play with there. There's just, you have the potential that if you do it wrong, there's a lot of financial negatives to it, and like a lot of penalties to that.
If they reach out to you first, then you're okay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just getting started, the odds of that happening are pretty low. Yeah. Same thing with door knocking, going down an entire street. Like you'd be surprised. Like at that point, it's just statistics, right? You're just working against statistics. And then we're like networking with the realtors. I think it's more like becoming friends with realtors. Like we kind of use the word networking very loosely, like, cause we're just going to like say hi. Okay. I know Ford. Ford, are you a real estate agent? Yes. Okay, cool. So now Ford's going to give me leads now, cause I've shaken his hand. Like, no, it's not. That's not how it works, right? He's got to like you. He's got to respect you. He's got to want to work with you. So like networking is far more, I would say it's more of the long tail, right? People are like, okay, I'm going to go to a RIA and I'm going to meet people, or I'm going to go to Phillips meeting and I'm going to meet 3 real estate agents, and boom, now I've got lead sources now. It's like, no, you don't. Like, so over time, perhaps.
But yeah, you have to really put the time in and develop a real relationship. All right, so key themes that we want to make sure you understand as you're going into the outbound marketing space. It is going to be cheaper, which is great. Your cost per contract is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be awesome. It is great if you're getting started on a limited budget. Please stay here. You're going to have to put work into this. So the challenge is that usually a newer investor, they also have a corporate job or some sort of job. You're going to have to work around your job. You're going to have to use your lunch breaks. You're going to have to, in our case, when we were in the middle of COVID, wiggle the mouse on Teams, run out the door, run back, wiggle the mouse, pretend we were there the whole time. Like, you're going to have to do this type of stuff.
That's why newer wholesalers tend to call at 9 o'clock at night.
Which drives them crazy.
They're just working after their job.
Yeah,
they're hustling.
Motivation level is going to be all over the place, because once again, you are interrupting their day. They're not raising their hand. So you might find someone who's crazy motivated, phenomenal, but on average, they're probably going to be more lukewarm, and you're kind of working them to the conclusion of selling the home. And then generally speaking, it takes longer to put it under contract. Make sense? Questions, comments, concerns? We will continue that.
Airborne.
All right, inbound. So now this is people calling you, and everyone's like, yeah, that's what I want. And they don't realize that when they raise their hand and say, that's what I want, maybe not. So we've got bandit signs, PPC, which is Google pay-per-click, SEO, search engine optimization. Your website is on the first page of Google. Pay per lead, Facebook, direct mail, billboard, radio, and TV. Now, what do we notice thematically about the inbound? Cost is boom. Now it's going to vary, and usually you're in control of that budget. It's not just like them telling you, sorry, you got to spend 20 grand. But it is going to be more expensive for sure. But you've now just paid to not put in sweat equity. So no matter what, you're spending either money or time. You don't get to get out of this without spending something. So take your pick on what you're spending money on or spending on. What else do you notice?
Expensive.
Yes. What else?
The time of contract is a lot.
There we go. Yes. Time to get it under contract is going to shrink usually by about half. The reason why is because they raised their hand. You're not interrupting them, they are interrupting you. So we, last time I looked at PPC, the time to contract was usually under 14 days. It is a fast turnaround. Because usually they're in their underwear at 1 o'clock in the morning, like, I need to sell my house. And they're just going down Google. And so they are doing it now. So you have to be super on top of it. So yeah, I mean, you're going to pay more money, like no doubt about it. But the minute that you have any extra dollars to start scaling, this is where you probably are going to have to invest in at least one channel, and just kind of feel it out. Now, all the other challenge you're going to start seeing with this is that equity position is going to get a little squirrely. It's going to be super high motivation. That's phenomenal. That's one of the key cornerstones of someone selling their house to you. But that does not mean that they've been there for 40 years, unless you've got some list that's driving that, like from direct mail. So PPC, for example, they could have moved in that house last year. We've gotten leads from houses we flipped, and the person that bought it wants to sell it back to us. They don't even realize we're the one that did it. We're like,
That's
dude,
like so weird. You're like, I feel like I know this address from
I
somewhere.
really know this
I've
address.
been in this house before, but it didn't look like this back then.
Yeah. So equity is all over the place. So do you know what to do when you don't have the perfect 70% minus repairs type of house? Do you understand sub 2? Do you understand novations? Do you understand that seller finance conversation? Do you understand all the tools in your toolbox? If you don't, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table, and then your cost per contract is going to go up because you couldn't convert everything. Does that make sense? So I've known people that have spent $10,000 on PPC and gotten nowhere. And when we actually analyzed what happened, they worked a full-time job. So here's the problem with that. They fill out the lead. You're on a call with your ding-dong fellow engineers, and you're like, crap, I need to call this person, but I got to be on this call for the next hour. And at that point, hour and 5 minutes in, you call and you never get them on the phone. Or they've already lined up 6 appointments and they don't need you anymore. If someone's going down Google, they are going down Google until someone stops the mania and sits there and says, I will help you. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then they book an appointment and then they feel like they've solved the problem, even if they didn't sell the house right then and there. Yeah, that's a problem. So when we realized that the issue wasn't the marketing's not the problem. His process was broken. His lead management intake process was bad. Then the result was he spent 10 grand on nothing. So when you look at these things, make sure they make sense for the style of business you're trying to create. Make sure that someone can answer the phone. Direct mail, that's not as important. So maybe direct mail is where you should spend your money versus PPC. Maybe you want something that you can turn on and off at a whim. Well, then that's going to be like a pay per lead thing. You can really turn that on and off as you need to. Okay. So make sure it makes sense for the type of business you want, the style of business you want, and the return that you're looking for. Make sense? Okay. Nope. Come on. There we go. So key themes. Motivation is going to usually be much higher. You're going to have a quicker time to contract as a result. It is going to be more competition. You're going to see Red Door guys. You're going to see Kava. You're going to see us. Just gotta throw that in there. We'll be in the mix. It'll be fine. It just is what it is. So you got to get scrappy, and you got to make sure that you understand what makes you different. Because that's what's going to be, the numbers are going to all kind of be about the same. If we're all running the same math, why would they sell to you versus Kava, Red Door guys, or us? Make sure you have some market differentiation. You are exchanging sweat equity for money. And then as you scale, you need channels that bring people to you versus the other way around. So all that to say, this is why I sit here and say marketing is so specific to the individual, so specific to your exit, what you're trying to accomplish. And that's why everyone in YouTube drives me absolutely up a wall when they're like, this is the only way to do it. And everyone else is dumb. No, like that's a bunch of Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
He's on YouTube right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so specific to you. So if you have found something that you're like, man, I vibe with this, then like run with it, scale it. Like our friends that are big on texting and cold calling, I'm like, I literally do not understand how you make money with this because I've spent no small sum of money on this and it doesn't work for me at all.
We got friends that like have basically dominated multiple counties just on bandit signs.
I'm like,
Like they're just like the king or the queen of bandit signs, and it is hilarious because like they'll just, and it depends on your market. The more rural you get, like the easier it is. But it's like this like Smokey and the Bandit thing where it's just like they're just constantly working against code agents, switching phone numbers, creative ways to like get the sign higher on the telephone pole so it can't be taken down by a random person. Like it's wild. They'll like have the stapler attached to like a 12-foot pole and then like it's nuts. Like, how quickly can you get the ladder on and off your truck? Doing it in the middle of the night, like. But like they absolutely crush, and like there's money to be made there, right? There's money to be made in something as simple as bandit signs, but we tend to see the stuff online that's sexy, right? Everyone's like, oh, you got to do PPC. Like you can blow $40,000 like that, and then you'll just be like, okay, well that's not going to work.
Ask us how we know.
Well, and then it's like the style of the client. Like if you're looking for sub 2 deals, pay per lead or pay per click probably is going to be your friend. But if you're looking for people that are all high equity or like absentee owners, that's not going to work out for you because now it's just a roll of the dice and it's at random. You're not going to get people that moved into the house a year ago because you're buying data that gives you what you want. So the outcome will be what you want. And then it's just the style of appointment. I found in general, I've enjoyed certain conversations based on certain inbound marketing channels better than others. Some it's just like very transactional, and there's some because of the branding that's associated with that, it's just a more friendly conversation, and they're like, we chose you, not like we just called the first random person we saw. Mm-hmm. So then you're already going into the appointment with an advantage. So it's interesting how, but like that same conversation can be had with 5 different people, and they're all going to give you 5 different answers. So it's not like there's just some blueprint that says like you have to do this, this, and this, and you'll be successful. Because you might go, I hate the people I talk to when I do that. But meanwhile, you're the king of bandit signs, and you just like the fact that the good old boys call you, and that's the nature of your conversation, and you love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've noticed different, like we call them an avatar, like a type of client that responds to different types of marketing. We notice different avatars even within the same channel. So like that's why we constantly test stuff. So we had 2 different marketing pieces. One worked and crushed, and one used to crush and then literally just fell apart. And we're like, what changed? Well, he doesn't like that person that usually responds to that type of mail piece. So we're like, well, 1, you're not connecting with them. 2, everyone started sending the same thing. So we sat there and said, well, maybe not. So then it got lost in the noise. And we literally, because we were tracking every single quarter, I could prove a less and less return on investment until it went to 0. Well, then why am I doing this? But if I didn't track it, I would have said in my head, well, it worked before, just give it a little more time and it would have kept working. And I would have spent tens of thousands of dollars on literally 0 return on investment. That's why you have to track. So, final thoughts. For those of you who are not aware, we do have a Facebook group. Talented investors that share, because we're classy.
What did you call it?
Adam, if you all have never really had a conversation with Adam may be a little cheeky and I have a sense of humor. We have a Facebook group that is about 8,000 members strong. In there, this is the stuff we talk about. So week in, week out, I go live, we post stuff, I'll share what is working in our business, what is not working in our business. People can ask questions. Jump in. That's what we, at this point, we want to start sharing because we've heard so much nonsense out in the world about what works and what doesn't, and we'd like to throw our 2 cents in the ring based on real world experience. We are still obviously very actively investing. We haven't, we're not these gray hairs that have been doing it for 60 years. And we're like, back in my day when it was 17% interest rate, this is how we did stuff. Like, this is all stuff that's happening in real time. I'm sharing what works. I'm sharing the mistakes we're making. So hopefully I can save you all from making the same mistakes we make. So,
Yeah.
Any questions? Anything that we can share that about acquisition that would help you guys in any way?
Yeah, I mean, are you guys doing L10 meetings on your?
Yeah, it's a form of that. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
every week?
Every Wednesday. Yeah.
Every Wednesday.
Oh, every Wednesday. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and they're moderated to make sure we actually show up. The moderator knows nothing about what we're talking about. She literally just makes sure that we show. Because here's the problem. If she's not, and I spend money on this every single week. If I don't have her there, then we don't do it.
It wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen.
Okay.
We just know ourselves. That's why I don't go to the gym. I go CrossFit because I have to be there a certain time and I have to have someone watch me. And if no one's there, then I'm not going.
So at what point would you say on your return on investment that it would be a good channel to scale? Like, so is it 1 to 2? Like for every dollar you put in, you get $2 out, $3 out, $4 out?
That's a really good question. Usually we say anything over $3 out is something I'm willing to explore. Anything less than $3, I'm starting to look at cutting. So 3 for me, I'm like, I mean, it's fine. I'll let it be. If it's over 5, I'm like, let's go. And if it's like 2 or 1, then I'm like, nah, it's got to go.
Okay. And how many channels are you guys currently doing right now on outbound and inbound?
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, not everyone. Hold on. Okay.
Texting and call.
Yeah, apparently not those. I did them up until about 60 days ago. Currently, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. We got probably 5 or 6 different things running at the moment.
Okay.
So just a little bit everywhere. So that way, if something takes a hit, maybe something else doesn't. That sort of
Yeah,
thing.
some of it's more seasonal. So like, the phone doesn't ring over Christmas. The phone doesn't ring over July 4th. That's a consistent thing. But like there are some channels that are still more active than others during that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, at what point of scalability do you want to start doing these analytics? Like how big do you need to be?
the moment you start spending money
Yeah.
or
I
your
mean, it's-
time, right? How many, because it's like, eventually in order to be able to scale it, you'll need to sit there and say, okay, if I knock on 100 doors, 5 people want to talk to me. And out of those 5 people, I can have 2 real appointments. So that means that I'll have to go 2 months to get a deal. Okay, so like that, so it gives you, like, you can start going, okay, for every number of appointments I have, I get a deal. So if you're like, okay, I'm at 10, well, then you have to do a lot of doors. If you're like, if every 4 you're getting a deal, then you're like, okay, well then now you can reverse engineer the problem.
And if you, let's say you love door knocking, but you recognize you can't door knock enough to get you where you need to be. Now you start saying, well, do I have someone else door knock too? And we do it together. And I tell them, these are the expectations I have of you. Because now here's the problem is you tell someone to go door knock, but like, if you can't tell them what to expect out of it, then you're not holding them accountable to being good, bad, or otherwise. So once you have about 90 days, like a 90-day look back, and you're like, okay, I did this much, this much, that, and you can start kind of seeing the downs, like how it all works out, then you can start telling someone else how you want it done.
And we know plenty of agents that like all they do is sit on a dialer and they'll just call an entire zip code. Every single person in that zip code, are you interested in selling your house? That's it. Now they make a lot of money, but the moment they stop doing that, it's all over.
Yeah.
So like there is something to be said for like these more manual tasks. Like, again, this person makes a lot of money doing this, but if he stops calling tomorrow, the money stops tomorrow. So like he's no longer, he's going to be forced to have the labor involved in that from now until the end of time, until he says, okay, let me do something that's inbound.
Or he hires someone to do it for
Right.
him. Yeah. Track early, track often, whether it's tracking your time or tracking your money. You don't want to waste either.
Yeah.
If you had no time, no money, what would you
Work a W-2. I mean, there's something to be said for that. Yeah.
At that point, I'd probably be asking more questions. Define no time, define no money,
Right.
because that's when I need, because you need one or the other.
Right.
I only need a little bit, but you need something.
Let's say you have a family of like 3 kids and you're like, to support them when that money goes to them, but you
Right.
kind of have. What would you give that individual?
I would tell them that we're going to have a family time, let them watch Bluey in the backseat of the car as I'm driving for dollars, and throw some Chick-fil-A nuggets behind me as I get hungry.
Or like a channel that maybe isn't necessarily as time sensitive. So maybe you'd be a good candidate for bandit signs, or maybe you'd be a good candidate for mail, because like you don't necessarily have to get to that phone call that second.
Right.
But if you're the pay per lead or you're the PPC guy, you have to answer that phone call in 30 seconds or else they're talking to somebody else.
Yeah.
So usually like it's, in that's the problem with like internet leads is it's a form of mania. And so you realize you have a problem. Finally, today's the day we're going to do something about it. And so you Google and you whatever it is that you type, I don't know what they're typing, but like, they could be like, I need to sell my house in Powhatan. Great. And okay, today you've got an ad running, or today you come up first because you spent a bunch of money on SEO. And now they're like, okay, let me call that number. No one answered the phone. Let me call the next guy. So like if you answer, you have the opportunity to stop the mania. So they go, I got a guy coming out tomorrow. He's going to take a look at the house. Everything's okay. I can go to bed now.
Yeah. And that busy person needs to be posting on social media.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like it's not just, hey, I buy houses, and that's the one time they ever say it in their entire social media existence. Like you have to keep saying it. So that way that sphere, that ecosystem knows that Mr. Smith is the guy so when their mom dies 6 months from now and they don't want to deal with the house, they're like, let me call Mr. Smith. Like they have to put it out all the time. That takes no time. But they have to do it consistently, which is the part where everyone always falls apart. So us included.
You guys ended up mentioning that if you guys had money, you guys would do PPL, right? But I'm assuming that would be the case if I had a lot of money and like no time.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. So if you have a lot of money and no time, I would choose some form of inbound for sure. But if you have no time and you can't respond quickly, then I don't want you doing PPL or PPC. I'd probably just tell you to do mail.
Yeah.
Because then someone can leave a voicemail and then you can call it back at your leisure. Or you can hire someone to, call back at the leisure. But if you can't immediately engage with digital, then you're sunk. So don't invest the time in it.
And then the other drawback to PPL would be that you're at the mercy of whoever it is that's running that campaign. Because, essentially, like, how people will say, like, it's in the cloud. And, like, the cloud is just someone else's computer, right? All right. So PPL is just somebody else's PPC campaign. So they have an intake form. And then all of a sudden, now you're the one that's actually responding to it. We had a vendor that we worked with, and all of a sudden, like 6 phone calls in a row, we're like, hey, I'm looking to get an appraisal on my house. And it's because they changed their national ad campaign to like also be, if someone like typed in Redfin house appraisal, like what's my house worth? Like they were the first thing that showed up. So people stopped clicking on Redfin and started clicking on that and being like, yeah, I'd like to know what my house is worth. And then they'd call me, or I would call them, and they'd be like, so like, when are you going to come out and appraise this thing? And I'm like, well, are you selling it or not? And they're like, nah, I just want to know what my house is worth. Like they had no intention of moving at all. Now, the first time that happens, you go like, user interface issues. Like people are people, right? They don't know how to use the internet. And then the second time that happens, you're like, man, what are the odds of that? And then the fourth time you're like, oh no.
$15,000 later in 45 days, I got absolutely butt kiss out of it, and I was real mad.
And that's when we weren't tracking.
Yeah, and that's when we weren't tracking. Because we're all just living off vibes over here and sitting here saying, we're getting leads, it'll be fine. Yeah. No, it won't.
So yeah, turn them on, turn them off, like just at a whim, just based off of, is it working? Are we getting the return out of it that we want?
Yeah. I'll actually give you even a better example. So one of the things we did not track until yesterday was who ends up being the most common person that Adam ends up putting under contract. Is it like a tired landlord? Is it inherited? Like who really loves them some Adam? I was like, man, I'm telling you, I do not like tired landlords. He's like, I don't think anyone sells to me. Would you like to know over the past 18 months what percentage of transactions are tired landlords in our business? Oh yeah, like over 50%. And I laughed my butt off. I was like, but once again, we're living on vibes over here because we weren't tracking it.
Yeah.
And what we realized, if you take it a layer deeper and we really looked at the data, it wasn't professional tired landlords. Like someone who's like, I just want to sell this one piece, I know what I got. He was right. He doesn't work with those people. Someone else does, but he does not. It's people that like,
They were like renting to their brother or something like that. So it was
right,
more
or
like
like
a
they had
family thing,
inherited,
yeah.
they were keeping
They
it.
were technically a landlord, but like they were like, yeah, I've just had this lady live in my house for the last 18 years.
Yeah.
They're not really
Right.
a professional landlord.
Right.
They don't have a portfolio.
Yeah. He can work with a mom and pop landlord. He can't work with a professional landlord because then they're like, I know what I got. And he's like, you don't got it. And they're like, yeah, I do. And he's like, whatever. And then he just walks out the door.
Just list it, bro. Just list
Yeah.
it.
So, but like this is the stuff he would always say like, tired landlord. And now it's like, no, you can't be like not excited about that type of appointment. They're good for you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like,
I'm a tired landlord right now. If someone could give me top dollar for my portfolio, here you go.
Yeah.
But they won't.
So if you're starting out, I know you guys are marketing and sales.
Mhm.
Would you say marketing is more important than sales, or sales is more important than marketing?
I think you have to run it as a dual thing. You need to understand really quickly how the marketing impacts your results. But the challenge is that, and we fall victim to it too, when marketing or when stuff doesn't feel like it's working, we default set it to we're not good enough at sales. Salespeople for a decade are not good enough at sales. So we need to go back to Steve Trang school. We need to go buy the sales course and we need to make sure we're getting all this right. Well, you cannot overcome bad marketing. So now we're sitting here spending all this energy on being better salespeople, which is good, but it didn't actually solve the problem because the problem was actually over here.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Like, I mean, I have people, I had someone call me that he's like, I really don't think my marketing is working. And we ran through his direct mail campaign. It was. He just wasn't doing enough of it. Like, I can't overcome that. I don't even know if you're a good salesperson or a bad salesperson. You don't have enough flowing for me to even tell you if you've got something good or bad here. Your data is correct. It's not enough of it. And he's like, oh, so I need to do more. I'm like, yeah. So you're going to feel like you're not succeeding if you're not looking at both sides of it.
Yeah. There's something like every now and then you come across like somebody that's like that they do a particularly like really niche thing, and they're like, I send out like 400 pieces of mail for this a month, and it's like, cool. All right, so if 0.5% respond, that means that 2 people will respond a month to this campaign. How many responses do you need to get 1 appointment? And it's like, well, I need 6. Okay, cool. So every 3 months you'll get 1 appointment from this. Now, if you'll close that, how many appointments do you need to close? And you're like, well, you can be good. And you're like, I can do every 1 in 3. It's like, cool. Then it will take 9 months of this niche thing and you'll get 1 deal. And the math will still make sense and still be wildly profitable. But maybe that's not at a scale it's going to make you be like, oh, it's time to quit the job. Instead, you're probably sitting there going, this sucks, it doesn't work, and I need to stay right where I'm at because real estate doesn't work. It's like, no, if they were 5xing that, then it's like, okay, now maybe they're getting a deal every 45 days. Maybe still not enough to quit your job. But like, okay, if you 20x that, okay, now it's like, oh, we've got 3, we're getting 2 deals a week. Only if that particular thing can scale and you still keep tracking it and seeing that the rate of return stays there. Because some things just don't. You could be the probate guy spending $20,000 a month on just probate leads and you probably won't ever see any of that money back. But there is a point where it might work. Mm-hmm. So like,
So after 5 years, what do you guys plan on doing? Like, is it 5 years in?
Mm-hmm.
What's your goal? Like after you have like all these developments, STRs, rentals, and whatnot. Like,
I jokingly say it's Operation Give It a Second, in the sense of like things are going really well, so just like let that ride for a little while, and also too like there's obviously a potential education component with this, potentially buying other businesses, like just as we've learned the art of running a business, then it's like, okay, this is a universal trait that can work in just about anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think right now the main thing that we're looking towards is more of like a coaching component, because we really do feel like I mean, you guys know there's 1,000 wholesaling courses out there, like they're a dime a dozen, but I really feel like this acquisition thing is not something that people talk about enough. They either talk about sales or they talk about wholesaling. No one really focuses on soup to nuts up into the time you close on a property. And so my hope is that that's something that people see value in, and that we can help people the way that we were. When we got stuck, we got help. And they sat there and said, cool, you have no idea what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
yeah.
You are not wrong, sir. Thank you. And that in money and time that was invested is money that, I mean, is the return on investment on that now is
absolutely
100, because like our business tripled in 9 months and has continued to grow since then, because now we've got it straight. If I can offer any of that downstream, that is something worth doing. So,
Cool.
Appreciate you guys.
yeah, no worries. Yeah. Well, if you guys need anything, the Facebook group is there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if you want any access to Adam or Amanda, that's the group. If you just randomly friend requesting me, then I'll probably ignore it. So.
But there's also actually in there a free assessment that you can take, where it's just 15 questions. It'll take you less than 5 minutes, and it will spit out, based on how you answered, what we think diagnostically where the break is in your acquisition pipeline. And then you can schedule calls with us to talk about it more if you feel like you need to, or we can talk about it on Facebook Live together. But yeah, that we just launched like a week ago, is this totally free assessment for anyone to take if they want. So,
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate
yeah,
you.
no problem. All right.